Hello again and welcome back to Illegally Cited. This is Jesse here and I am back for another channel and event update video. So this time we're going to talk a little bit about the Sony event that happened last week. I was working, so wasn't able to cover or stream it last week. And of course we're going to talk a little bit about the Apple event that happened yesterday as I'm recording this. So a lot to talk about here. Let's just jump right in. Again, thank you to everyone who has been supporting the channel. Very much appreciated. For anyone new here, I do unlock videos Monday, Wednesday, and Saturdays. Mondays are stream archives from Twitch, twitch.tv/illegally cited. You can follow me there as well. Wednesday and Saturdays are everything else, from low vision spotlight games, mainstream games, accessible games, audio games, VR content, virtual reality, hardware reviews, and any number of things. There's a playlist tab up there. You can definitely check. Everything is organized into playlists. You can check out whatever content area you might find more interesting. Things are definitely going to be busy on the channel because there are new hardware devices coming out. There are a whole bunch, that we got the fall season of games happening. One in particular that I've been looking forward to, but I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do for covering it yet. I've been excited about Deathloop for a while. That is the Bethesda game that just came out. And I forget the name of the company. I mean, they make Dishonored and stuff as well. But when I pre-ordered it, I looked and it looked like the PC requirements were going to be a little bit lower, but they must have changed a bit because now they're listed a little bit higher than I think they used to be. And I have it for PC. But this rig is not really going to cut it for recording and streaming and even probably playing it much, because I have to run it at a very, very low resolution, not even close to 1080p. Some of the text looks kind of blurry as a result, and it just doesn't, look and play super well. So I did get a discount a little bit, so I did get the PS5 version, and I was curious about the way they handled the DualSense controller, so I may be able to stream some of that to my PC and cover the game that way. Otherwise, when I get my new rig eventually, we can take a look at Deathloop then. So it is one, of course, I like shooters, so, look forward to that at some point somehow. But, unfortunately, my old reliable PC rig here is just starting to show its age a little bit. But we have plenty of AAA games. We got plenty of indie games, what I'm very, very much looking forward to. So there's a lot of that. So lots of videos. There's been a lot of stuff around Realms Deep and retro shooters. So we got more demos and early access videos for those. And who knows what other surprises might be in store. So there's your quick channel update. Lots of stuff happening there. Oh, and one more thing. I am, as I said in the other video, the first of 3 videos is out. I am covering The Veil. I did a playthrough on Twitch a few weeks back. So I will be, the first one is out, and the other 2 are going to be released on the first Monday of the next couple months. So October and November. So they will be released. I'm just trying to space them out a little bit, space out some accessible content, and also encourage you guys to go financially support accessible games yourself as well. So, The Veil. Anyway, let's jump right into Sony. Like I said, I was working, so wasn't able to really cover that live. They had an event, and, it was kind of like a post-E3 type event. These are the types of announcements you would kind of expect to see at an E3 event, although I will say there really wasn't really many surprises. There's a couple, but, everyone was hyping up, oh, what if they announced this? What if they announced that? It was like the PlayStation anniversary, but no, there was a couple surprises. But so the first one was a surprise, and I don't know how to say this, TCHIA, Chia or something. This looked kind of nuts. This was like this weird, I don't even know, open worldy part action adventure, part like Pokemon type of thing, and really bright colors. It looked really interesting. But I mean, and they showed a lot. To be fair, they showed a lot of like gameplay styles. They were going around on like skateboards and flying around, like gliding and everything. And I don't know, it just looked all kinds of wild. I'm just genuinely intrigued as to what this game is going to be. But I suspect it's not going to be out for a little while yet. So we'll have to wait and see what that is. But that was definitely a unique surprise that caught a lot of people off guard, I think, me included. Oh, gee, GTA 5 is coming to the PS5. So yeah, I know they're working on eventually a GTA 6 of some sort, but this thing has been out for like what, 8, 10 years now, and they've ported it to like it's another Skyrim. They're porting it to everything. So GTA 5. And then there was this weird Radiohead experience. So I guess they're porting it to PlayStation 5 and PC. I didn't really get a good gauge as to what exactly this experience is gonna be. I'm not a huge Radiohead fan, so it didn't really click with me all that well. But if you are, I am kind of fascinated to see like what bands and what kind of musical experiences people can come up with. So at the very least, it's interesting in that regard. But yeah, I'm not quite sure exactly what that one is either. But that was kind of another interesting one. Marvel made a huge showing. They are everywhere. Marvel is just everywhere. We got some more Guardians of the Galaxy stuff. So that's coming out next month. Looking forward to seeing what that's going to be like. Then we got a little bit of a surprise. Insomniac, the makers of the Spider-Man games, Miles Morales and the other Spider-Man game. Yes, we are getting a Spider-Man 2 in 2023. We got to wait a while for that one, but next year we got a teaser for a brand new Wolverine game. No gameplay, unfortunately, but it just showed him at the bar, showed him, taking a drink, and then, somebody walking in, and, his got his claws out at the end as just a nice little teaser. But heck yeah, I mean, an action Wolverine hack and slashy game from Insomniac, and especially if they're working on keeping up the accessibility and improving accessibility, heck yeah, sign me up. I'm very interested in that. So yeah, a new Spider-Man game and a Wolverine game. So the Wolverine was pretty good, a pretty good surprise. I would be down for that. One thing I will say, a lot of these trailers that they showed, one of my biggest pet peeves, and Microsoft was guilty of this around Gamescom too, but like they show all this like in-engine footage or the pre-rendered footage, and it's all there's not much gameplay. Like, okay, the story, sure, but I want to know what the game actually plays like. We're not doing movie trailers, we're doing game trailers. So show more uncut footage, not just like a 2 second snippet here and there, or none at all, because a lot of these trailers didn't really have gameplay footage at all. That's just one of my biggest pet peeves about these shows. Thankfully, one game that did show a lot of gameplay footage and it looks really solid, God of War Ragnarok, coming next year. That looks really rad. I really need to get around to playing that. I started the original game, but I'm going to start over on the PlayStation 5, and I really do want to play through it because I liked what I played of it so far, and I liked what I've seen watching other people play it. So God of War Ragnarok, combat looked pretty awesome. Very much looking forward to that next year. So they showed a lot of gameplay for that. That was a pretty good one there. Uncharted 4 and Lost Legacy Collection coming to PS5 and PC, which I thought was sort of interesting because for a couple reasons. Well, okay, you're bringing that to PC. That's great. But you realize you're starting with Uncharted 4. 1 through 3 is not on PC. And I would kind of think that, like, to get the story, Are they going to do like some sort of like a summary video movie type of thing to catch people up? Or do they plan on, even if they don't remaster them, are they going to release an Uncharted 1 through 3 collection for the PC so they can play those too? I don't know. I mean, it's fine, it's cool, but it just seems kind of weird. Now, the other interesting aspect of this, and I don't know, of course, these are Naughty Dog games. So, are they going to include any accessibility features that the original versions didn't have? And I hesitate to say, going forward, I think when they make a new game from scratch, yes, we are going to see that level of Last of Us 2 accessibility. However, I don't think, and I would love to be wrong on this. I would absolutely love to be wrong on this. I don't foresee this collection having near the comprehensive level of accessibility that The Last of Us 2 did, simply because they're taking an existing game and remastering it. I don't know how much, how deeply they're able to dig and what they're able to do to retrofit these accessibility features, text to speech and the navigation systems into these older games. I mean, maybe it can be done, maybe it can't very easily, and maybe it just might take too much work. So, maybe if there are some simpler things that they can add, more straightforward things, maybe it won't be as comprehensive as The Last of Us 2, but maybe they can add at least a few more features. So we're just going to have to wait and see what Naughty Dog does with this, and just to see what, if any, additional level of accessibility is going to come to those Uncharted games. But I'm very curious. Yes, Gran Turismo 7. That is coming out next spring. And again, I much preferred the way Microsoft showed Forza, because that one they showed straight up gameplay, the beginning of the game, like just in-car view, out-of-car view, third-person view, cockpit view, different cars, different locations. And God, that's a beautiful looking game. I mean, Gran Turismo looks fine, but like the only gameplay you really saw was a very few snippets of cockpit footage of a couple of races. But everything else was menus and, your typical kind of race, like replay footage type of stuff, which looked good, don't get me wrong, but not really focused on the gameplay itself. So that's kind of a bummer. But, I know a lot of people love the Gran Turismo series, so that's going to be really popular. Project Evo, I don't even remember what this was. It was, like, again, I don't believe they really showed gameplay, but it was kind of dark, and I think this is the one where it was kind of bloody. I don't remember. I'm trying to remember what this trailer was, but it seems interesting. But again, it's so early. I don't really know a lot about it. Can't really say much about it so far. So we'll move on. They did a little spotlight for Tiny Tina's Wonderland, the spin-off of the Borderlands series, which, she does this whole like D&D, you're in this D&D type of adventure, which some of the humor seemed kind of stupid. But that's the Borderlands games, like you either love it or you hate it. Some of it I think is amusing, some of it seems a little bit forced, but the gameplay looks really fun and goofy and just kind of original. So I'm definitely curious to see what that's going to be like. And that's going to be coming out, I believe, next year as well. So the other main surprise that we did get, and this is kind of ironic because the original version of it was, if I remember correctly, a Microsoft exclusive. Well, now, next year, Sony is getting a Knights of the Old Republic remake. And this being a Star Wars RPG, of course. I rented it back in the day on the Xbox because I liked the idea of the story, but I wasn't into turn-based games. Still really aren't for the most part. And I never really got too far in, but I'm curious to see, how they're going to redo the story, or if they're going to keep it primarily the way it was. But yeah, we got a Sony Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic RPG exclusive coming next year. So a lot of Star Wars fans are either going to be happy or going to be really bummed, depending on what platform they own. I'm not sure if it's coming to PC as well, but I know it's a PlayStation 5 console exclusive. That much I know. So that, and it was just a real teaser. Again, there was no gameplay footage shown. It was just this really brief teaser. So again, really solid titles if you're into, especially what Sony said earlier this year. They're focusing on their big AAA solo, big budget adventures, and they did down. They doubled down on that, and they do look really solid. But there wasn't too many surprises. There was a crazy open world game. There was the Wolverine game, and I think Knights of the Old Republic. I think those were the three things that really, I think, were any bit of a surprise. So that is Sony. Now I want to talk a little bit about Apple's event yesterday, because that's what a lot of people are going to be the most curious about. And they really just, there was no accessories, there's no like AirPods or anything like that. There was no Mac stuff covered. It was all iPad, Apple Watch, and iPhone. So we started out with, they talked a little bit about services too. They sprinkled in a little bit about Apple TV stuff, new series, new season starting this fall. I've watched a couple things here and there on Apple TV. That C series is definitely kind of strange, but kind of interesting. I did watch the first season of that, and I watched the first episode of season 2, but you can't binge them. They're releasing one episode a week every Friday. So, unfortunately, I can't just do the traditional Netflix style binge thing. And a lot more services are starting to do that too. I know I watched a series on Amazon fairly recently. If you want a really dark, messed up animated superhero show, look up Invincible on Amazon. Boy, that series goes some places. That's all I'm gonna say. Man, I'm curious to see where they're going with season 2 with that. But a lot of Apple TV Plus series. They also, when they talked about the watch, they talked about their Apple Fitness stuff. They're adding new bike riding features, fall detection for when you're riding a bike. They got new Pilates stuff in there. They've got some new winter exercise sports stuff in there. Kind of, they're saying preparing for snowboard season or skiing season. So those are the things that they're adding to their Apple Fitness stuff. And then it's really all about the devices. So they started out with the iPad stuff. We have a new, and yes, that's what they're calling it, the new iPad. So again, I hate the naming of these things because if you, let's say you want to save some money and get last year's version, how the heck do you find it? Do you look up the old iPad? Or what in the heck are we, I wish they would at least say 5th gen, 7th gen, just the way they do with the watch. At least it's okay, the Apple Watch 7, that's fine. But their iPad, they've called many different iPads the new generation or new iPad. And it makes it really tough to figure out which model you're actually getting. But this one, if you're looking for a tablet and you want a really good entry level, this is the one to get. Starts at $329. Cheaper if you're in education. And basically the theme of this Apple event is all the devices, they're Apple devices. They're just new and they're better. They got a few new features, but there's nothing really that stands out on on most of them, really, to me anyway. You get a better processor bump. You get a better camera. You have the center stage feature that they did earlier on the iPad where it kind of follows you along. So if you're on a FaceTime or Zoom call or something, it'll kind of track you better. But it's your spec bump iPad, entry-level iPad. And I'm really considering getting one of these for my parents for Christmas because my dad is using, I think, my original iPad Air, which is many years old, and I think he actually the screen is cracked on it. I think he said a little bit too. So I think they're in the new market. I think that might be just the ticket for them. But that's really the new iPad. There's not much more. It supports the first gen Apple Pencil, interestingly enough. And then you have a new iPad Mini starting at, believe it or not, I can't remember the exact price, but $400 something dollars. So the new Mini is actually more expensive than the entry level new iPad. But it's got it's a better screen. It's got a spec bump. It's not the newest generation. You're probably looking at about an iPhone 11-ish processor in there. But if for a nice portable form factor, it's not too bad if you really want a tablet. It's got a better camera. It supports your center stage stuff, so your calls and everything. So it's got a front camera bump, back camera bump. And if I saw the pictures correctly, I think they actually both have camera flashes. Don't quote me on that. You want to double check. But especially if you're wanting to use a tablet as a CCTV or a magnifier, I would highly recommend only getting tablets that have a camera flash, because you have this monolithic slab over your piece of paper casting a shadow, and that is just going to make your flash is going to make the text a lot clearer, less blurry. It will help out a lot, trust me. So yeah, I mean their iPad Mini. I mean they both of these, they come in like what, 4 different colors, and I wish they would just say what the colors are, like red, blue, green, black, white. But instead they're like midnight or scarlet, or I mean some of these like, you can kind of tell, but like there's a couple of them that I even saw people asking on Twitter, like, what are these colors? Like, they're just weird artsy, fartsy names for colors, and I don't know what they are. But yeah, so, I mean, both the iPad and the iPad Mini, there's spec bumps. They've got better cameras in them. The screens are good. If you want a smaller or cheaper iPad, they're not bad ways to go. I mean, especially, you look at an Android tablet. The main problem that I have with Android tablets is they just don't do well about having universal apps that support them. A lot of the stuff that you want are only phone apps, and you either have to blow them up double size, or you can't even run them at all. Like, well, that's when I have that Samsung tablet. So their biggest advantage is their app store and the huge number of apps that you can use with these tablets, whether you have a phone or a tablet or both. So, I mean, really, there's really not much more to say about the tablets, honestly. And they went into then the Apple Watch. We got the Series 7 Apple Watch. And again, I wish they would do that with the iPads, because, okay, it's the Series 7. That's what I know. And then if I want to get last year's model for cheaper, it's the Series 6. Easy. But really, there are some updates to it. The main thing is they're doing a little bit of a different chassis, a little bit different physical design of it. The main thing that I do like is they have larger screens, so they're basically making the edges of the screen go a lot closer to the edges of the top of the watch to give you that extra space. And with that, they're able to, make some icons bigger, buttons bigger, which, again, from a low vision point of view, that is very much welcome. They're actually adding a little QWERTY keyboard type of thing that you can kind of almost, and here's the thing, it's almost like a flick type style prediction keyboard, which, interestingly enough, after this whole thing went down, I feel bad for the flick type guy, because it sounds like he's actually going to be suing Apple, because he started flick type on the phone, he had it on the watch for a short time, and then he had to take it down because Apple got all pissy about it. And so yeah, now they're just doing it themselves, and basically put him out of business. So yeah, I mean, and the thing is, FlickType worked really well. I genuinely quite like it as an alternative keyboard. So Like, I talked about them canceling or him not really supporting FlickType anymore because he just really can't, or doesn't want to go through all the hoops. So, I mean, on one hand, it's nice that the watch is getting the way to enter keyboard stuff, but it's just kind of sad that, this small developer, boom, it's just gone. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. But yeah, I mean, the bigger screen, the bigger buttons. Of course, you have new watch faces. You've got the the little QWERTY keyboard type of thing on it. And other than that, you probably get a little spec bump processor wise. But honestly, that's really about it. The existing bands, if you have any existing bands and you want to upgrade, all of those will work. They're the same form factor, so you're good there. But there's no new sensors. Like, they talked really a lot about health and everything, and of course their fitness app thing. But, there's no new sensors, no real new groundbreaking features or anything. So if you're using a really old version or you don't have an Apple Watch yet, I mean, this is a good one to get. As far as me, I'm leaning toward not getting it. Odds are I won't. At least I'm not going to pre-order it. I know that much. What I might do is if I go to the Apple Store at some point, if Apple were to give me a really decent trade-in value for my Series 4, then I might consider upgrading, because visual-wise, yes, I would like a bigger screen. That would be nice for me, but it's not, like, for how I use my watch and when I use it, what I have works fine. It runs fine. It's good. And the other thing with that is I have the cellular version of the watch, and some of the third-party apps that I was hoping would work out didn't quite work the way, or work at all, or work the way I had wanted it to, so I don't really use the cellular features. If I were to upgrade, I would actually upgrade but downgrade to the standard version of the watch and just axe the cellular stuff, and then I could save another $10 a month on my Verizon bill. So that would be good. So that would be the other incentive. If they gave me a good deal, I could just pay the difference, cut $10 a month off my cell phone bill, and then, that would kind of make it sort of worth it. But if they don't give me much for a trade-in, I'll just wait until there's a feature on a new watch that I just really, really want. Maybe like a new sensor or something. So, I mean, really, those are the watches. New bands, a little bit bigger faces. Their fitness stuff, they really doubled down on that. But again, it's Apple. It's another watch. It's a good watch. If you have an old one and you want a new one, it's fine. But it's just another Apple Watch, really. And then they went into the phones. You have just like the 12 series, the 13. I'm kind of surprised they went with the 13 with the whole bad luck connotation and everything. But yes, it is the iPhone 13 series, and we're getting the mini, the iPhone 13 mini, the iPhone 13, the iPhone 13 Pro, and the Pro Max. So, and pricing is going to be exactly the same as it was for the 12 series. So I think that was like the mini starts at like $649. I don't remember what the 13 starts at, but then like the Pro starts at like $9.99 and $11.99 or something like that, or $10.99 and $11.99 or something like that. I forget. But it's the same price that you can do for the existing stuff. The main difference is they're actually cutting out the 64 gigabyte version finally, and the base storage model is going to be 128. So that should actually make a lot of people happy. You can actually kind of do something on your phone, so that'll be good. But yeah, I mean, really, they're keeping the same form factor pretty much as the iPhone 12 series, which has kind of got the more squared off edges. I mean, they're rounded, but they're more kind of flat, kind of like the iPhone 4 styles were. I have the XS Max still, so I'm like 3 versions old. And, I'm torn because I really love my phone and it's working great. Like the battery life is still solid, Performance-wise, it seems okay. It seems to be doing pretty well. It's just been a really, I love my 10s Max. It's held, like, for as much as I've been using it the last couple of years, 3 years. Yeah, it's still working wonderfully. But there is now starting to get to be quite a few features that it doesn't have that I would like to be able to use during my day job for demonstrations, or for the channel stuff, or for just any number of things, accessibility projects or work that I do outside of my day job. So there are things where I'm kind of thinking, I'm on the fence right now. But all these iPhones you will be able to start pre-ordering this Friday, and they're going to be shipping the following Friday. So, your iPhone 13 and 13 mini, they have upgraded cameras. They support, I believe, the center stage stuff as well. You've got your, I think, 2 cameras on them. You get your processor bump. So what is the A15? I think they're up to the A15 Bionic or whatever. But it's your processor bump, your little GPU bump, so they'll run everything faster, better. The notches are a little bit smaller, 20% smaller across the board. So you still have the goofy looking notch, but it is what it is. Until they make a total redesign, it's still there, but it is a little bit smaller. And you do now have, like I said, you got a new processor. Screens, I think, are pretty much the same. I don't think they've changed anything there. But at least the mini ones, they're better cameras and an overall spec bump. There's really not much. There's nothing really hardware-wise new on the. And then of course a little bit bigger battery. They did say that they made the batteries across the board bigger. So on average, you're going to get between like an hour, hour and a half. Longer battery life across the board on the 12 or the 13 Pro Max. They said about 2.5 hours more than you did on the 12 Pro Max. So because you got this ginormous phone, they can put a bigger battery in it. So yeah, I mean, if you want a smaller phone, you got the 13 or the 13 mini, you can go the smaller screen route. And of course, the Pro line, basically the main difference is the cameras. I mean, you have the two big differences. You have the screen, which can do like your smooth adaptive scrolling up to 120 hertz. So like, when you scroll, when you're playing games and things move quickly, you're not going to have really any delay. That's the kind of type of technology they put on the iPad Pro earlier this year. So we're finally, now that they've kind of ironed out the kinks in it, they are finally adding that to their phone, which a lot of people were hoping they would have done last year. But yeah, so that's one of the main differences. And of course, the other is the cameras. We have 3 cameras. They still have all of the phones have the LiDAR sensor, I believe now. But the Pro and the Pro Max, they have 3 cameras. They have some extra image stabilization stuff. I don't really pretend to understand, so I'm not going to try to explain it. But they're doing some stuff with that. Then they're doing some pro level photography stuff where like you can literally focus on like let's say a person, and then it will follow them as they enter or leave the scene or move around it. And even like as you're panning around, let's say you're focusing on one person, but then somebody else comes in the room and you want to focus on what they're doing, you can kind of it'll automatically pick up and try to track them instead. Like I said, a bunch of pro-level photography and videography stuff. Like, I'm not going to explain it because I don't know what I'm talking about. But that being said, there are a few features. Like I said, the image stabilization, and then there's this like macro, was it the macro or micro level zoom that they're doing, where they showed like really, really zooming in close to like a flower or a leaf, and you're literally able to see like the little veins, the little kind of spots and pores on the leaves and everything. if you're using uh, with this extra zoom level and clarity, I'm really wondering, like, there might be an advantage to this, and especially the quick focusing. Like, there might be advantages to using the magnifier app, like image stabilization. I notice even when I have my current phone, I don't know, like it works, but like if I hold a ruby over a piece of paper, I don't get, it doesn't really look that jittery. It looks pretty smooth as I hold it over and kind of hold it over a piece of paper and move it. But on my phone, if I'm like, let's say, really tired, or maybe I've had just a bunch of caffeine and I'm a little jittery, you can kind of tell that. Every little subtle movement, it picks up on that kind of a thing. So maybe some of this image stabilization will help. And then being able to this macro zoom or micro zoom thing, looking at, if not just text, but maybe looking at some sort of project that you're working on. Maybe you have to look really closely at a device and there's some labels or serial numbers or just microscopic awful text that you need to be able to see. So there potentially could be some low vision advantages to that. So, the camera, the faster screen, the improved battery life are all, potential things that if you have a several year old model of phone might be worth upgrading for. But if you have a fairly new phone, iPhone 11 or 12, I don't know that I would really worry about it because there's nothing really new in this. I mean, the form factor is the same pretty much. Of course, it's your little bit better screen, a little bit better cameras. So, like I said, I'm kind of on the fence right now. But I'm kind of starting to lean toward an upgrade because, like I said, as great as my phone works, and like I said, I love it, but because of the nature of the work that I do, I don't have MagSafe, I don't have 5G, I don't have LiDAR. Of course, you're going to get the camera quality and focus speed upgrades. You're going to get the processor upgrades. You're probably going to get better cellular bands. Like I said, I don't even have 5G in my 10 series, and I live in a city where I probably could potentially take advantage of that if I leave my apartment, because my apartment, like I said, I live in a bunker and I don't get squat for cell phone coverage as it is. But once I leave my cave, I could get 5G stuff and that would be really nice. So there are a good half a dozen things. As well as my phone does work, there are about a half a dozen things that, potentially do sound enticing for me to get. Now, do I want to pay for an upgrade? I mean, I can afford to, but, just because I can doesn't mean I should. So, like I said, I'm on the fence. I don't know. I'm probably about 60-40 leaning toward getting an upgrade right now. But I don't know. I mean, like I said, I love my 10s Max. It has been a solid, really good phone. And like I said, I still use it a ton every day. So I don't know. I don't know. But probably next month when I do another one of these update videos, I guess you'll find out whether I got one or not. So that is really the Apple event. I mean, there weren't really any surprises. We pretty much knew most of everything. We just got final pricing and release dates. iOS 15 is coming on September 20th. So for existing devices that you have, you can get iOS 15. And speaking of iOS 15, I would also highly recommend, if you're a voiceover user or even a low vision user, go to AppleVis, AppleVis.com. It's a great website for Apple devices accessibility. Go look up one of their recent podcasts. He did a really, really nice job of going through. The title is something like 50 iOS 15 features. And he walks through several of them, and 50 of them or so. And there were several that I knew about, but there were a lot of them that I really didn't even know. And even I've played with the iPad beta a little bit myself. There were some things in there that I wasn't even aware of. There's a thing where you can do specific for visual stuff. You can go under accessibility and say, well, this app doesn't follow the whole dark scheme, so only for this app I'm going to invert the colors or make the font bigger because the font is atrocious or whatever. So there's going to be some nice things for that. You have the text recognition right in the camera. They do, one of the other things that stood out to me is if you don't have a paid iCloud plan, you just have a base level. Let's say that you want to update devices, but you want to back up your phone to the cloud and you don't have enough storage to do that. You can kind of get this free 21-day iCloud backup plan where it's free for 21 days, and then you're able to back up your entire phone and then restore it to whatever new device you get, and then boom, you're good to go, and then you don't need that storage again anymore. So that's a really nice kind of a courtesy service to help people move forward with their devices. So I definitely go to appleviz.com and go find their the 50 iOS 15 features, because there's some neat stuff in there that I didn't even realize. So look forward to that. But otherwise, I think that'll wrap up both the Sony and the Apple event coverage stuff. Hope you enjoyed the video, found something helpful, found out anything helpful. You can follow me on Twitter at BGFH79, twitch.tv/illegally-cited, illegally-cited.com, right here on YouTube. And I will also throw in a little plug for the Blind Abilities podcast, and more specifically, the Tech Abilities podcast. I was a guest on the regular Blind Abilities podcast, and I talked with we got to interview the developer of Sortie Quest, which was a really interesting interview. So check that out if you missed that one. And then I am now a regular co-host of the Tech Abilities podcast. There are like 4 or 5 of us that talk tech and different things. And we had a really good one last week. We talked about, going to college and tips for getting back to school and being more independent, and even just like, different types of technology, knowing your technology, what types of things will be helpful for you, like employment. It was a little more serious episode, but I think there was a lot of great information just from everybody in there. There were 3 of us. A couple of hosts weren't able to attend that episode, but there were 3 of us there, and we had a really great conversation about just a lot of different things technology-wise. So I would definitely recommend checking that episode out, if nothing else. But Tech Abilities, you can get the Blind Bargains app on iOS, or you can find it on your regular podcast application of choice. Blind Abilities and Tech Abilities, and so check those out as well. Anyway, we're going to wrap it up here. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and until next time, I will chat with you guys again later.